Hey everyone, it's Rick. We got Ryan here. We're at the beautiful Make Believe Studios, and today we are going to show you a piece of gear that we don't know at all. This is an Altec 1612A limiter amplifier. That's what it's called, but it really, in my mind, it seems to be a two-channel mixer into a limiter with a mono output, or it can be utilized as a microphone preamplifier slash, line in, or you can have it set up to be two mics in. And that is all courtesy of the fact that these Altecs have these cool plug-in transformers in the back. Currently, this one is set up so that it is just a single line in to a single line out, much like a standard mono limiter. And this thing, a limiter it is. So it only operates at a ratio of 20:1, and it's pretty brick walled. It's got one interesting control that we're pretty much going to ignore for the majority of this video, but I want to go ahead and explain it. It is a little bit hard to explain and unusual, and I've never seen it on any other unit, but I'm going to go ahead and explain it for anybody who may come across this video in the future looking for a video that explains it, like I did. So what it is this control here that's limit line balance. It allows you to set the gain structure so that when you turn off the limiter, it compensates for the massive shifts in, level, but it doesn't really do a good job at that because the limiter has a very hard kick on anyway. But that's what it's for, is to compensate the level difference between on and off limiting. I have found it to be relatively useless, so I just keep it over here to 0. That said, we're going to test out this limiter and show you what we found, and you're going to go ahead and hear how I feel about it in real time. I've thrown this on a drum set just to get used to its functions and figure out what's going on, but I have not thrown it on a room mic, which we actually don't have. We created this room mic with Deverb, and we have not thrown it on a bass, which is where I happen to particularly like Altec compressors because of their very slow attack and release times. So we're going to see if it sounds good on any of these sources and see what you guys think. Awesome. So that's just the limiter out. Now we're going to go ahead and turn this limiter on. I've gone ahead and found that between 0 and 10 dB of reduction sounds pretty cool on this room mic, and I think that it sounds rad. Is it as exciting as pumpy as an 1178 or an ADR? No, but it definitely does a great job of bringing the excitement forward, and it has a ton of vibe. It's not the most distorted thing that I've heard from Altec. It's not like a 1567 or any of these preamplifiers that sound like trash cans, but it definitely has a vibe. It just doesn't get real pumpy. If you push too far into gain reduction, it tends to stay in gain reduction more so than, swinging back and forth in a violent way like some other effect compressors. So now that we've heard it on the room mic, will you go ahead and play that again? So now we're going to go ahead and bypass this on the room mic, and we're going to put it on the whole drum set. So you can see here, there were two sounds that I really liked. I like when it was doing just a little bit between 0 and 5 dB of gain reduction. I thought that that sounded really good. And then also I really liked when it was doing, close to 25, what would that be? 22 dB of gain reduction up there next to this -10 on the top meter. I'm going to have Ryan play it for you again, and I'm just going to go between those two sounds. One thing that this thing's great at is it does a really good job of keeping its level. Since it is limiting, it is just, reduced and staying there. So go ahead and play it again and check this out. So that does a great job of giving a cool compressed sound and a nice thwack to it, but it does a wonderful job of not only retaining but enhancing what's going on with the low end. When you push it a little bit harder, I feel like this thing does eat a little bit of low end, but we do get some cool knock. So play it again. So, and I find that interesting. We're getting some knock. I feel like some of the low end is coming out. The hi-hat is coming up considerably because a lot of this low level information is coming up with the limiting. I think that's very, very cool sound. Ultimately, would it be my first choice? No, but if it's all I had and I was looking for something cool, or if it was for sale on Facebook Marketplace, I would definitely be interested. Can we go ahead and try this where I think it's really going to rule though, which is the bass. I think it's going to be great on the bass because of its attack and release times. They are long, and those sorts of things tend to do well on bass and vocals. I'm not going to try it on vocals, but it could be cool there. I am going to try it on bass though. And it's wonderful. It does a great job of not only adding a nice little tick to the bass, but also making the low end sound big. And we're not doing a bunch of gain reduction. We're only doing 5 dB of gain reduction, but the attack and release times that Altec chose back in the day have just always been incredible for bass. So go ahead and try this out on a bass if you ever come across one. We're going to go ahead and try that one more time, Ryan. Play it, and we're going to smush. So that is awesome. We're doing over 20 dB of reduction now, and the low end gets eaten up a little bit, but it's doing such a good job of making it bigger that it's awesome. And it's adding a nice little, not only does it have that thwack I was talking about that it had in the drum example and in the, less compressed bass example, but it also has a nice little distorted pop that's happening on the bass. So let's just hear that one more time. So ultimately, I think this is really, really cool on bass. I would consider keeping it for the bass. As I say, if something sounds great on a bass, I bet you it sounds great on a lead vocal. So that will be the next place that I try this thing out, which in my opinion, it's probably going to sound a little bit lo-fi, a little bit gritty, but maybe it'll be one of those cool sounds like an old Chess Records or something like that. Because it definitely does not sound like it's got full bandwidth in the top end to me, but it doesn't sound like it's like considerably cut off at like 4K or anything like that. It just sounds shy at 20 and 19 and a little bit dark, but very, very vibey in the upper mid range. So if you ever come across a 1612, I definitely suggest picking it up. Have a great day.